when you have to remember the 100 tasks on your list, you have no space in your brain for thinking of anything else. If you could allow yourself just to think about today, the time block you've set up, and focus on those things, you will have so much more processing power to solve problems and be creative rather than thinking about the things you got to do for the next 3 weeks. Welcome to the Maven Marketing Podcast. Today is Maven Monday. I'm your host today, Caleb Agee, and I am in the wrong seat, but hopefully you enjoy what's going on today. I'm joined with Kyle DeVries. You know, I was just telling him for the longest time, you spell it, it's a big D, little E, capital V, right? R-I-E-S.
Yep.
And I had your name wrong in my head. You know how you read a book and you mispronounce their name for a long time, and then you see the movie and you're like, ooh, missed it.
Yeah, it's hard to pronounce, and a lot of people say DeVries, which is understandable. That's what it looks like, but so I forgive you. But.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, this is the place where we help you eliminate waste in advertising, grow your business, and achieve the big dream. Kyle, what are we talking about today?
Caleb, marketers and entrepreneurs have a lot on their plate. Did you know that?
I am at least one of those things. And yes, I have a lot on my plate.
We're busy people, and there's a lot to keep track of. And we've got tasks, and we're managing people, and we're trying to just make it in the world and go about our daily lives and be there for our families and our friends and all that stuff. And so we want to help you kind of rein it all in, figure out, how do I be more productive with my day? So we're going to give you 3 tips, and we're going to talk through them. But those 3 tips are time blocking, a 4-minute feedback, and use a second brain.
Okay.
Sound exciting?
Sounds so exciting.
Cool.
All right. Time blocking. Now, we have, for the history of Frank and Maven, we've always made daily lists, which was very valuable. I have notebooks from, more than 10 years ago where I was making my list for the day. And I think it's really good to declare what you're going to do each day. But we found a limitation with that, in that, especially in creative work, you can spend an infinite amount of time on something creative because you can never stop being done, right? And so sometimes we find that tasks that should be really quick take longer, and tasks that we thought were fast are supposed to take longer, right? And so we started doing what we call time blocking, because we can structure our day around how long things should take, or we hope for them to take. So one of the most dangerous things for us to do with our day is just to make a list without understanding what that list takes. And so each and everything on our day not only has an assignment, but it also, I know when I'm going to do those things. And that's kind of how we build out our time blocking each day. So tell us how we build that. Yeah.
So I'm a little bit old school, and in the past, before I came to Frank and Maven, I would do like sticky notes and stuff like that, which I still do a little bit. I kind of like to do that, but to have a physical cross off the list moment. But I also would like just keep everything in my mind. And I feel like I would trust myself a little bit more than I probably could be able to trust myself. So after coming to Frank and Maven, I've learned the art of time blocking. I've learned the benefits of really getting your day down on paper and kind of learning how to plan those things out. So to me, time blocking is a little bit of like a cross between a to-do list and a calendar, and kind of an organizational tool for your day. So the first thing you should do whenever you're making your time block is kind of like find those things that like those things that already demand your time in that day. That might be like a meeting or something that you're already feeling like you have to do that day, and kind of build it around those. And then after that, you're going to gather your tasks that you need to complete to make progress for that day. And then you're going to assign a realistic amount of time to those tasks in meetings. You'll schedule out your tasks by blocking your time throughout the day, and then leaving small gaps like where you need them if you're going to take a break or take a lunch or whatever. And then a bonus tip is to share your list to your coworkers or your colleagues and kind of keep yourself accountable that way. Yeah,
everybody in our office should do this, and it's not some weird, I think it sounds really micromanagey. Actually, you can ask anybody around here. We're very much the opposite of that. We have talented, hardworking people that we don't like watch what everybody does, but everybody shares their list every day now with time blocks. So At about 8:30, you'll start seeing them. We have a channel in Slack, and everybody starts trickling them in. You'll see it from 8:30 to 9. I'm going to do this. From 9 to 10, I'm going to do this. From 10 to 11, I'm doing this. And it's really important because giving yourself like a time frame for a specific task will force you to acknowledge how long it should take to complete. And so there are different personality types. Some people are naturally going to just mark it off, get it done, mark it off, get it done. Other personality types, and I'm not throwing in any shade at either one of these, will wander in the task for a while and just, enjoy being creative inside of that. And so instead of getting stuck wandering for 2 hours, you say, I'm going to spend 1 hour writing this thing or designing this piece or working on this project or whatever it is. And then I'll get as far as I can today. Hopefully it's not due today and you've planned your time out well enough, but I'm going to get as far as I can today and I'm going to cut myself off. And tomorrow I'll pick it up again. But that forces you to kind of have this crunch time that puts the urgency and it puts the pressure on in a good way.
Yeah.
And it makes you work hard.
Yeah. And it's not always going to be like perfectly to the minute every single time, but it is kind of an art form and you kind of learn what normally you should be, what amount of time you should be spending here or there. And I always kind of like come back to it throughout the day. Like sometimes I'll kind of finish up a task or I'll get to that end of that time block and I'm like, I don't even remember what I was supposed to do next. And so that just tells me if I hadn't time blocked, I'd be lost. So referencing my list back throughout the day, I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of keeps me on track. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
And it's also really helpful because a lot of times if you look at it retroactively, there are a lot of tasks we do. Obviously not everything's exactly the same, but very repeatable tasks that happen every week or something like that. So you could acknowledge like, ooh, I budgeted 30 minutes, but that only took me 15. Or I budgeted 30 and it really needs to take an hour. So next time you're going to give yourself an hour, And so it just helps you understand what time takes. Even from a business level, that's important for pricing things and setting up your resources and making sure that you don't overpromise your time more than you actually have. And so that's really helpful. A couple of extra thoughts. Be realistic about how long your meetings will actually last. So I will say there's a lot of 1 hour calendar things on my calendar that last more than 1 hour. And so me looking ahead and saying, that says 1 hour, says it's going to end at 2, but is it really going to, I'm going to mark my next thing to start at 2:30 because I know that one's going to trail over and that's great. That's fine. Yeah. And so also it's easy to get caught between things and kind of meander. Instead now, because you've made your list, just like you said, I know exactly what I'm going to do next. So super pro level, if you want to be crazy, put those in like event blocks on your calendar. And then my calendar set to notify me at 10 minutes before each event. So I get a 10-minute warning. I don't do this every day. I'm not going to pretend like I am at the pro level, but sometimes I do. And when I do, I get these notifications. It's like, hey, in 10 minutes, you're going to go to this meeting, or in 10 minutes, you need to switch to this other task. And that gives me that, okay, I'm about done with this. I need to be putting a bow on it. So, and then sometimes I like to challenge myself, put a little extra on the day, like one extra task.
See how many things you can fit.
Can I get to 110% of a perfect day? You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Any further thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point. And even if you put a couple of extra things on there or whatever, and maybe you don't get to them because who knows what can come up in the middle of the day.
Yes.
It's always like a great place to start for the next day. Like here's, one or two things that I didn't get done yesterday. That's kind of maybe where first thing I'll start the next day or something like that.
Yeah. And don't get anxious when you get off track. This for certain personalities, when you put this in writing, you're like, I have to switch at 11. Like, no, you were just, you were just setting it up. You have a budget of time.
Outline.
It's an outline, but things come up and you have to be flexible and be willing to do it. You know who does really good with this time blocking? Nate, the camera guy.
Oh yeah.
He rocks it.
What can't Nate do?
I haven't found a thing yet. So we're going to try him out at juggling after this and see if he can pull it off. So, he's giving us a thumbs up. He can do it already. So, all right. The next tip we have for you is 4-minute feedback. I think Carter was talking about Gary Vee as a quote says that there is such a thing as a 7-minute meeting. We're proposing there's such a thing as 4-minute feedback. So we make a lot of creative products. If you're in-house marketing or you're at an agency, or you're just an entrepreneur and you're working on things, the reality is everything you make should cross somebody else's desk before it goes out, especially if it's advertising, if it's written, if it's going to be seen by more than one other person. I would propose that you should get some other eyes on it and collaborate. Mm-hmm. Every song you ever hear, every book you ever read has been touched by probably 5 to 10 people every single time. And that's what makes it great. Mm-hmm. Because we know that alone we can go really far, but together we can go even further. And so what we've found is that when you do have something finished and you say, hey, you shoot an email or you send a message, hey, can you take a look at this when you get a chance? You're going to get crickets. Mm-hmm. That will happen every single time. Nobody's going to get a chance. So what we do is we call a 4-minute review meeting. Nate, the camera guy, is once again great at this. Let's say we just made a TV commercial. It's a 30-second ad is a standard TV commercial. Maybe we got 2 of them. We got a minute of screen time. He calls everybody involved in that account to the room, put it up on the screen, and we watch it together, and everybody reviews it. Mm-hmm. So it's been that's been really, really powerful. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really great way to kind of get everybody in the same room and just kind of spout off some things that you see right off the bat or whatever. Sometimes they're already aware of what you're going to say, but it's still good to just get it out there. So that collaboration, get in the same room, watch it all at the same time, and get back to your day. Another way we do that, and so we use Slack as kind of our organizational system. You might use Microsoft Teams or Discord or something like that, but we use Slack. And so sometimes we'll call a Slack attack if we need some quick feedback on maybe a website we're editing or some copy we're writing like that. So we'll call a Slack attack. Everybody that is available will like stop what they're doing and just everybody will just look at it at the same time. And so again, it's kind of that collaboration of everybody just kind of spewing out some thoughts and just kind of moving forward together in that way. It's kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah. For printed pieces, I love, we don't do obviously as much print these days as we used to in the olden days. But I'll print it off on our crappy printer here in the office. Even if it's supposed to be a postcard on like cardstock, I still print it off, trim it down to size, and like staple front and back together, line it up, and then I'll drop it on Kyle's desk and be like, hey, how's that feel? You just got that in the mail. Mm-hmm. What do you see? And he'll be like, oh, well, I noticed this first, and then I noticed this, and I get live feedback, and I get to hear exactly his first impression of it, which is beautiful. So, find those ways to get that live feedback as quickly as possible. Yeah. If you have a new idea, get a couple people in the room, throw it out, see if it sticks. If it doesn't, okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But you got to make sure. The cool thing about this is you get to see their faces most of the time, which is really, really helpful. Maybe not in the Slack attack version, but so and you usually don't just get critical feedback. It's like, oh, I like this. Yeah. Here we go. Well, we found the dark side of maybe the Slack attack or just a digital review is all you get is the critique and none of the validation. Right. And so it's just kind of like you just get a bunch of darts thrown at it instead of like hey, this is really good, but and sometimes you need to hear this is really good
right
part.
No, that's true. I think that's one of the most important parts of the feedback is being able to like kind of read body language or like see their eyes, see their facial expressions, like whenever they're presented with an idea or a concept or a video. And I think that if you're in marketing, you can use this when you're presenting something to a client too.
That's right.
I think it's really, really important to see their very first reaction where maybe they're not even aware of like the feelings that they're putting out, and you're being able to just perceive that exactly as it's happening. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that are maybe afraid to give their like full thoughts if they're if they're a little bit negative. I think you can kind of like see those reactions and kind of pry a little bit like, okay, I kind of perceived that, this and this at that part, like, can you elaborate? And so just getting those first reactions and emotions can be really key for feedback.
Yeah. And you'll pick up on those nonverbal cues, which is really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're going to do, you need to, next time you have something you need some people to look over, you're not going to just send an email. You're not going to, or if you have a client that needs to look over something, you're not going to just send an email. You're going to call a 4-minute meeting,
mm-hmm.
and you're going to tell them, hey, we're going to spend 4 minutes. We're going to look at this. I want your feedback as quick as possible because I know you're busy. We're going to get right back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Show it to them. Get the feedback, ask any more questions. It might last a little bit more than four
mm-hmm.
minutes, but that's okay. But if, let's say, worst case scenario, you're way off the mark,
mm-hmm.
like you just totally missed it, and you're going to definitely need to go back to 0, call an actual meeting, not right then, because that's not the time they had allotted for it, because
mm-hmm.
they're time blocking too, right?
Right.
Call a meeting for tomorrow or the next day, and circle back up and figure out what you needed to get to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I'll add in one more thing, and that I have to always remind myself too, is don't get offended. I think we all want the same thing, like whether it's the marketer and the client or the whoever is involved, whether it's just your coworkers, like we all want to get to the same place. We want to make something that's great. And it's not going to be it's not going to be perfect the first time you do it.
Yes.
So don't get offended. Just take it in stride and keep moving.
Hopefully you're asking for feedback because you genuinely want it and you want the thing to be better than it was just when it was in your hands. And so make sure if you're the one who calls that meeting, you set it up in a way like, hey guys, I've worked hard on this, but I know it can be better. I know there are probably things that I'm not seeing because I've stared at it for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Help me see it. And hopefully that you have this culture of like kind and clear and strong feedback, and then just have thick skin if it gets a little dicey.
Mm-hmm.
If you're way off,
yeah,
it can hurt a little bit. Your heart's in that product,
yeah.
So
and at the very very bare minimum, like if you want to even try to avoid further edits even more, like just read it out loud before you send it. Like I'll catch so many mistakes, in an email or copy or whatever, before I send it off to review by just reading it out loud. And something maybe I'm like, whoa, that sounded kind of dumb when I read it out loud or whatever. You know, you can fix so many problems before you even get to the point where you're sending it off. So just another little tip in there.
Yeah. All right. So that's the 4-minute feedback meeting. Now, third thing we're going to talk about today is using a second brain. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean another human. Actually, that's not what we're talking about at all. It's not me using Kyle's brain, although I do use it sometimes.
I don't know. It's risky.
We're using it right now. So, fun fact for the day, your brain, there's a principle called the forgetting curve, which says that your brain loses new information at a rate of 50% per day. So not learned information or repeated information, but you heard it one time. There's no really recall. Your brain is losing that at a rate of 50% per day each day.
I believe it.
50% and then 50% of that 50% and then 50% of that 50%. And it just goes down.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that. I'm sure you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about a second brain is that we want to make sure we're taking what we learned, that short-term information that really we don't need for long-term recall, and we get it out of our human brain and into a digital brain of some sort as quickly as possible. So Tiago Forte, that's a great name, coined the term using a second brain, which is really the goal is to create an extension of your own memory so you can free up your mind to focus on creativity and problem solving instead of remembering details. And that is such a beautiful thing. And if you're a marketer, you have to have that because there are a million details, but there are a lot of moments that you need to be very creative and you need to be very in a strategic and problem solving mind. And when you're bogged down with like, you know how you have those days where you're like, I have 1,000 little paper cut tasks that are going to kill me today.
Yeah.
And those detail tasks are just crushing your spirit. You could never create anything of value creatively, I feel like, on that day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's all stuck inside of you. And so we're going to quickly try to get that out and captured somewhere else so that we have the freedom. So, tell us how we do that here.
Yeah, I think we're in meetings all the time, and there's so much information that's changing hands and all this stuff, and things that a lot of people need to know. And so as soon as I receive something to do or I receive some information, I'm putting it somewhere else. Whether that's like we use Asana, kind of a project management tool, or just even in a Word document or like a Google Doc or something like that. I'm getting it somewhere else because we've already talked about the fallacies of trying to remember everything, that your brain's going to start playing tricks on you. If you're starting to try to just remember all these random facts, it's going to slow down your processing power and all that stuff. So get it out somewhere else where you know exactly what that information was when you received it. And if it's a task for someone else, get it out of your brain and into that shared brain for them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are tons of tools for this. You could use Google Docs and Word Docs. I don't really care what it is. You could just use the Notes app on your phone. It doesn't really matter what exactly it is. I think if you're in an office environment, something like Asana or Monday or something like that, where you can create these tasks and have them organized. We're not getting into the weeds of how to organize all those. Trello is another one that I've thought of. What you want to make sure is that you've given yourself essentially the permission to forget about that task.
Yeah.
Not that you're forgetting about it, but there's a mechanism that will remind me that this is due on Thursday. And therefore I don't have to worry about it until I need to be working on it. And so when you have to remember the 100 tasks on your list, you have no space in your brain for thinking of anything else.
Yeah.
You're just working on those tasks.
Yeah.
But if you could allow yourself just to think about today, the time block you've set up, and focus on those things, you will have so much more processing power to solve problems and be creative rather than thinking about the things you got to do for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think this has helped me realize I need to let go of some of those random sports facts that are up in my brain. I can probably, forget Mark McGuire's batting average from 1999 or something like that. I can move on from all those sports facts so I can have some processing power come back to my brain.
What was his batting average?
I don't know. That was just a random thing. But
I thought
I shouldn't have.
What was his home run count in 99?
I don't know, but a lot of home runs. Probably in the 60s.
Yeah. That was a good time. 98, 99.
Yeah. Everybody's taking steroids and just hitting home runs.
Just hitting home runs over and over again.
Good day to be a baseball fan.
Yeah. All right. So, what's beautiful about using that tool like Asana is that you can come back to it when you're building your time blocking. It comes full circle. When you're building your time blocking, that helps you. You look at the calendar. We look at Asana, what's been assigned to me by myself or somebody else, and then we build our day around those things. And it's really, really powerful to see what you have on your plate today. Yeah. So 3 things. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to start time blocking. You're going to tell your time where to go. That looks like a structured day, a budget for your day. I think it's Dave Ramsey says, tell your money where to go so you don't wonder where it went. Tell your time where to go so you don't wonder where it went. You're going to call 4-minute feedback meetings. You can make a meeting happen. Maybe if you're reviewing a 5-minute video, it might not be a 4-minute feedback meeting, but make them quick, make it clear that it's going to be quick, and get everybody out of there as quick as you can. And you're going to use a second brain. Release the details of all the little minute details and the deadlines and all those things. Release those to your second brain. Make sure you catch everything you need in there, and then allow yourself to focus on what you really have on your plate today.
Yeah.
So
love it.
I hope that helps you be more productive this week and next week and the next week. If you can't, jump onto all 3 of these things all at once, take one and work on it. And I'd love it if you leave us a comment. Let us know how that's working for you, which of these principles you're going to apply. That always helps us. And make sure you like and subscribe to the Maven Marketing Podcast.
Absolutely. And if you need help or if you have any business related questions, you can email us at mavenmonday@frankandmaven.com. We'd love to answer any questions or maybe even feature your business on a future episode.
Yeah, we've alluded to it a lot, and it is coming. We've been building this actually for years, but especially in the last few months, we've been building the Maven Marketing Mastermind. And this is something we've actually been talking about a lot today. We're super excited about it. It will be a way to join essentially a community of marketers and small business owners who want to help see their marketing problems solved, we'll have regular calls with Frank and Maven team members, and we'll have a community of people who can help you sharpen your marketing skills and grow and solve those problems that you see every day. So we're going to be releasing details on that. There's going to be some special deals for founding members of that mastermind. So keep your eyes out. If you aren't already subscribed, go to our website, frankandmaven.com. There should be a subscription to our newsletter. You'll get Maven Mondays sent to you and Frankly Fridays. But then also, as we launch this mastermind, it'll be the way to keep in touch there, so you don't miss a chance to get an early entry discount and get access to what I think will be the best bang for your buck for some marketing training.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be really good. So we'll be here every single Monday answering your real life marketing questions, because marketers who can't teach you why.
Just a fancy lie.
Thanks, guys.